Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Rashida, also known as Nurshida, and today we're going to be talking about AI, ethics, and equity. So just a little background on me. I'm a fourth year PhD candidate at the University of Pennsylvania, the #1 nursing school in the world, and I am a health equity researcher. So my dissertation is looking at how factors including depression, the built environment, and racism influences the physical activity behaviors of Black men. So I'm most interested in how larger systems or systemic issues such as politics, racism, sexism, transphobia, all the isms and phobias, how those trickle down to health behaviors. For example, if you live in a food desert, it's harder for you to get access to fresh food, so more than likely you're not going to eat fresh food. So that's the kind of research that I like to do, the kind of things that I like to learn about. How I got interested in AI and just the metaverse in general was in 2021, I attended a talk. My mentor, Dr. Howard Stevenson at Penn, he hosts this talk every year called the Constance Clayton Lecture, and he had Dr. Courtney Cogburn as the main speaker at the event, and she was doing super cool research in the metaverse. And then Instagram changed, or Facebook changed their name to Meta on the same day. So then I started going on this deep dive on the metaverse and just how it can affect minoritized people as it continues to grow. And then that led me to AI, so I was doing a lot of reading on AI, and then most recently I started going back into my notes and going back to look at new articles and talks about AI now that the No Fakes Act is a big topic of discussion. So I have a lot to talk about and a lot that I could say, but I want to start by saying AI isn't good or bad. It is complicated. However, it's important that we talk about the nuances that come with AI or just the metaverse in general, because even though there's humans behind these systems, sometimes these systems influence us. That's one point that I want to make. We see that dating apps are an easy example. As researchers and the people who own these companies, they already know if they show you the same person more than once, you're going to be more likely to match with them. That's just something, you could just Google it right now and see that that's a known fact. And also, as humans, we haven't really gotten to a place where we agree what fairness means, what justness means. There's people who don't even believe that racism is real, and it is very real. I can testament to that racism is very real, but there's people out in the world who don't believe that it is. So even though there's humans behind these systems, every time people bring up worries about AI or the metaverse, everyone's like, oh, don't worry, there's people who know a lot of things who are building these systems and making sure that they run correctly. Well, we can't even decide how to treat each other, so how can we decide how these AI systems should be treating people? And aside from all that, I have three main things that I want everyone, especially if you're part of a minoritized group, to think about now that AI is growing so quickly, quicker than we can predict the issues that come with it, but also the benefits that come with it too. So the first thing that I want people to think about is representation matters. Right now, the metaverse, AI, everything in between, there's no rules. The metaverse is a lawless place. There's no policies. It's just an open space. And we need researchers, psychologists, healthcare workers, people in finance, every expertise. I even saw a job posting recently for an AI position at Google, and it was for someone who works in policy. We need not just a variety of expertise, but a variety of people working in those particular spaces. So we need Black people making rules, we need Indigenous people making rules, we need trans people making rules in this space, because the same way that in the I guess, material world, rules weren't made with us in mind. And even when they were made in mind to hurt us. That's the same thing that could happen in this space, when we're talking about AI and other digital things that are coming up. Representation matters. So whatever you need to do to educate yourself, or if you have an interest in that space and you feel called to be in that space, please, please get into that space. The second thing is more so for people who are actually working with AI. Transparency matters. So for people who don't build AI bots and systems, a simple way to explain how they're built is that a large amount of information is taken and patterns and trends are identified in that information and all that data. And then from that, the AI tool is created. An easy way for me to think about it is there's a lot of information about the past, like when you think about something like weather, for example. They're taking a lot of information about the past and then finding patterns and then using that to predict what the weather will be tomorrow. And that's how a lot of these AI systems are, or that's the status quo for how, where they get their information. That's the status quo for how these systems are built. However, there is not a lot of transparency about where this information comes from or even how it's used. There's not many rules surrounding that, which is why I'm happy that a lot of psychologists are getting into the AI space, because science has rules. We try to be ethically sound, we try to promote reliability and validity of results so that if someone else tries to do the same research project, they'll get similar results as we did. We keep notes. There's a lot of transparency in research and science. So I am glad that there are a lot of scientists in that space. It's just right now there's no guidebook really, or rules or policy that span across the whole space. So even if I got into AI as a nurse researcher, the way that I do research, the way that I help build these tools may be different from someone who gets into finance and builds bots for the stock market. And the third thing that I need people to understand is this needs to be an ongoing conversation. How AI is used, what we use it for, it needs to be ongoing, because again, like I mentioned before, we haven't even agreed how to treat each other. We haven't agreed on what just or fair means. So when these algorithms are created and these AI systems just go out and do things, right? Someone has to program it, yes. But if my definition of fair and your definition of fair are different, then we would probably program an AI bot that's supposed to identify fairness differently. And that goes to kind of like my silver lining about AI. There's been a lot of, well, not a lot, but I've been reading up on these articles that look at AI and discrimination, or some of the harmful things that AI has done. For example, Amazon created a recruiting bot that ended up preferring males for technical roles. And then there was an AI companion called Replica, and it started sexually harassing its users. That's not funny, but it started sexually harassing its users. I laughed a little bit because that was a super random article to read, but obviously that wasn't its original intent to do, right? And as these issues come up, people need to know that they're happening, one, and two, we need to talk about how to mitigate these issues, because there's a lot of great things about AI, right? Like having it help with recruiting helps more applicants be seen in a way, right? They're run through the algorithm. And then having AI companions may help with the issues of isolation that we have in America. But when things happen and they go rogue and start doing random things, like, the general public needs to know, and they need to have a say in what's going on. And without representation and without transparency and without talking about it, then we just run the risk of not fully benefiting from AI, because access to AI is a whole nother topic. But also, we also run the risk of AI having some harmful effects on people who are already struggling. Like minoritized groups already struggle in the material world, and then now there's just certain things that you don't have access to, or everything that's gonna hurt someone is always going to hurt the least privileged person the most. And AI runs risk for that. So those are the 3 things that I want you guys to start thinking about and talking about. Leave comments below. I want this to be an interactive conversation, and this is definitely a first video because, like I said, I have so much to say. But definitely let me know what your thoughts are on AI and ethics and equity, and let's keep this conversation going. All right, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.